Have you ever wondered why some people buy? Are you analytical and a little bit weird like me and you want to know why some people decide to buy when they do and why they don't when they don't? And so for me, I have sold a lot of stuff. I've built $1 million businesses and health practices. So if you are in the business of having to sell something, a product, service, or offer, it will be in your best interest to understand a little bit more about the brain. So I'm going to break down some research in this video that's going to help you sell your thing better. And so I want to help you understand a little bit about the brain. So one of the things that when I got into business, I thought if I could just explain myself more logically, that people would make a decision. If they knew what I knew, they would do what I did, right? Boy, was I wrong. In fact, I remember before I started my first business, it was 2004. And I remember going to one of my mentors at the time. He had a place in Colorado Springs. And I remember him explaining exactly how he sold. And he was a chiropractor and he ran a big chiropractic business and a big coaching company. And remember, he said, I just lay out all the research and I show them that this is the decision if you went medically using drugs or potential surgery. And this is the research that shows if you went natural and used chiropractic and other natural means. And I thought to myself, that's exactly what I'm going to do. Because if I just show them the research, I show them the data, everybody will make a right decision. And I can charge whatever I want and people will pay. You can imagine how that worked out. But in my mind, I thought logically, people just need to understand exactly what I understand. Unfortunately, that's not how it works. So I wanted to show you here. This is the part of the brain right here. It's this, what calls the limbic area. So if you're seeing this, it's this area right here, this limbic area of the brain. This is the emotional center of the brain. That's what makes the decisions. This area out here, when you draw a brain, you draw these little fissures. It's called the cortex. That's the logic center of the brain. When you sell something, you want to make sure you are influencing the limbic or emotional centers of the brain, because it turns out that all decisions, not some, not on Tuesdays or only on Saturday mornings, every decision is made emotionally. Our brains are wired by God to make decisions emotionally. We justify with logic. We have a logical confirmation. So you've heard people, we buy on emotion, justify with logic. So in order to sell more, whatever it is you're trying to sell, you can't logic them into it. Yes, you may think that some people analytically, the engineers of the world, the architects of the world, it makes sense to them. And there's been even times where you thought, no, once I understood the features and the benefits of the product, service, or offer, I bought. But that's not true. If you look at the data, it shows that information led to your confirmation that was actually driven by the emotional center. So why does that matter? If you are trying to sell in a report, maybe you're a natural health expert, you're a chiropractor, you're a functional medicine doctor, you're trying to sell somebody a service, your care, your recommendations in a report. Maybe it's one-on-one, maybe it's one-on-many, maybe it's in a webinar or a stage presentation. I've done them all. I've traveled the world. I have spoken on stages, large and small. I have fallen on my face metaphorically. I have ruined a lot. The only reason I can talk about this, to be honest, is I teach this a lot to clients all day, every day now, how to better sell. But it wasn't because I'm naturally gifted at it. In fact, it's the opposite. If you ever study an athlete who doesn't have natural gifts, I was one of them as well. I played baseball at a high level in college, and I will say I wasn't the best baseball player like some of my teammates. But I had to learn all the little nuances in my grip, in my stance, in my hips, in fielding a ball, in throwing a ball, in just being able to grit and grind, how to read a pitcher so I could get the move. And I was a leadoff man, so I was fast, and so I'd have to get on base and then steal, and that was my job, is to score. And so I had to learn, I just would study a pitcher's move, and so that I could get a better jump because I wasn't the fastest guy. So it's the same thing in business and in sales for me. I grew up, I was scared of my own shadow. Like, I hated talking about money because I had such a scarcity mentality. I grew up that money didn't grow on trees. I was the middle child of 8 kids. We didn't have a lot. Everything was hand-me-downs. We didn't go on vacation. So I learned early on, or I thought the world works, is like if you have money, hold on to it, hoard it. It's scarce. It will go away if you don't, if you don't hold it tight. That doesn't work out very well when you have to sell $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 packages or plans, because I didn't have an abundant mentality. So what I had to learn is, what is it that makes the human brain tick? And so what I was able to build in 4 years, 2004, 2009, I built $1 million business. And as a 24 to 27-year-old kid, because I learned some strategies of how the brain is wired and to utilize and to leverage it on my side. One of them was very simply is know that the emotional center of the brain makes the decisions. And so if I'm going to actually influence them in a way I feel good about, not pushy, not salesy, not, confrontation, I needed to know that the brain is wired to make decisions emotionally. So the first thing I'm going to recommend you do, right? And this is, again, something we teach in our Ignite program for all my clients, is I first have to get you to understand that your state, how you feel about your thing, is so important that almost nothing else matters. You could have the best words, you could have the best script, but if you don't believe in your product, service, or offer, they feel you. It's called mirror neuron. So example of mirror neuron would be if you yawn, or you see somebody yawn, or you even hear somebody talk about yawn, you will be more likely to yawn. It's something called mirror neurons, that you mirror that which you see or hear or feel. So yawning, another one would be crying or being emotional. When you see somebody else emotional, you can tend to get emotional. Well, it turns out that there's also the same application when you believe something so deeply, somebody else just respond to that. So I would just recommend that your step one, if you're trying to sell anything, knowing that the decision-making part of the brain is the limbic center, which is that guy right there, right? Or this guy right here. Knowing that's the decision maker, you need to be in a state where you really know what your offer is and how valuable it is. I teach something in our system called the cost of no. You know what the cost of yes is, but are you very clear in your own spirit first, in your own mind, and then being able to transfer that through communication, the cost of them saying no? So for me early on, in order to go in and ask for $2,700 for say a 4-month care plan or 6-month care plan, I had to know the cost of them saying no to this was so much higher than the $2,700. That is the only way I could feel good about recommending it and asking them for that money. And not only did I know that, my first businesses were obviously in health and in chiropractic. I could literally, and the other thing is, I was competent. I knew that my skills, I knew that I could deliver results. That here's the objective findings, here's what we're going to actually accomplish, here's the care plan to do that, we're going to measure it along the way, you're going to get well. And so asking for that money, I knew deep down, I had to know deep down. I see so many clients that they can head it in their mind, they can say it to me, but they don't believe it. So first thing is you have to believe it. I put out here animals. There was a story of a tribe in Africa who was around predatory animals, but those predatory animals never killed them because they walked in a certain state. They walked in a certain confidence, and that animal, just kind of like your dog. When your dog, when they feel that you're not taking anything from them, like this happens to my own dog. I still try to love this dog, but my girls love the dog. That's why we keep the dog. But I've got this dog, and I know her name is Honey. Like, she knows when I'm like, don't mess with Dad. Like, don't mess with me. There's times I can be playful, but like, there's a feeling, right? There's a he means business. Well, it turns out this African tribe, they could be around these lions, and these lions would never eat them unless one. The only time they had fatalities is when this African tribe drank and got inebriated. And that predatory animal, that lion, could tell there's the confidence level is down. It's a sense, it's a mirror neurons, and then that's when they would go attack. No other time, because they knew they were the alpha, but when they were inebriated, they lost control of what we know, the cerebellum, which is the balance centers, but also this emotional center. They were not themselves, and they could be sensed by that predatory animal. Now, what's your takeaway right now? Is that understand, how are you walking into your sales presentation, your talk. I will also give you an example. One of the worst talks I ever did, I remember I was in Seattle, Washington, and one of my mentors, somebody that I looked up to so much, he was in the crowd. I didn't know he was going to be in the crowd. He was in the crowd. I didn't know it until I walked up on stage. I saw him. And literally, it was the worst talk I've ever done. It was the worst sales I've ever done because I was only worried about what he thought of me, not about the rest of the audience. I wasn't in confidence. I wasn't the mirror neurons. It was just, don't disappoint my mentor. So I know you've been there. I know you guys have been there before. This is why getting in state, as we call it, getting a level of confidence, getting a level, like making sure you're intentional about your mind as you walk into any sort of sales presentation. But here's what I want to go through a couple of things, and this is the research I want to tell you about. The number one reason why people buy. Follow me. Listen to me when I say this. Listen up. The number one reason why people buy is not because they understand everything. The number one reason people buy is because they feel understood. Think about the last time you purchased something, especially over $2,000. The reason why you felt confident in buying that thing wasn't necessarily because you understood all the features and benefits and it was the perfect thing for you, is that you felt that either through your own research, whether it was buying a house, buying a car, buying a couch, buying a TV, that you felt that either the salesperson understood you, or however in the process you felt that this product, service, or offer was the best for you because you felt it was fit for you. You felt understood. And everybody has different needs. So again, this is a challenging thing. It was a challenging thing for me, is instead of trying to preach to somebody the value of the thing, if I sought to understand them and they felt understood, that's when the game changed. So the research shows this. It's going to blow your mind. So there was research in a hostage negotiation setting, and they found out that if the perpetrator, right, if the perpetrator who's holding up these people hostage, if they felt like the negotiator understood why they did it, there was a 200% increase in likelihood that those hostages were let free. All because that perpetrator, that criminal, felt understood. If the negotiator sought to understand them and know why they did it, the likelihood, again, skyrocket. Think about that. That's so crazy to think about. So in the sales journey, are you understanding your prospect? The top 3 ways to do it, right? So there's a 200% increase in likelihood that if in those situations, heightened emotion, if in that situation they were willing to let them go because they felt understood, think about somebody trying to buy your thing. It's the same human brain. It's a wiring of the brain. When you understand this bad boy, it's almost like a game. You just know how to work with it. And so what I want to tell you, though, is the trust that can be measured through a hormone in the blood called oxytocin. It's the bonding hormone. I wrote about this in my book called The Trust Formula. The top 3 ways to make somebody feel understood is the power of story. That is the number one way. Research shows that it will increase your offer by 6,700% and then remember it 19 times more. Why? Because it increases a hormone called oxytocin. It's the bonding hormone. It's the breastfeeding hormone. It's the bonding hormone. It's the trust hormone. So if you're not utilizing your story and metaphors and analogies, you are leaving so much money on the table and you're making it way too hard. Sales does not have to be that hard when you know how to leverage the power of story. And then the other piece is questions asked at the right time with the right tone. When you ask questions and you ask it with the right tone, that curiosity, the curious tone, it allows them to open up. And when they open up, they'll reveal to you why they really need what you have or want what you have or need the problem solved. And then it allows you to actually paint the benefits and the features of your offer to exactly what they need, and they will feel so understood. It's a no-brainer. You position yourself as the only one to be able to solve their problem. So I hope this helped. In a review, the emotion is the key. The emotional centers of the brain make all the decisions. That's this limbic center right here. The way to hit the emotion, right, is first you have to believe in your product, service, and offer. You have to kick in those mirror neurons so they feel that you're convicted, that you know what you know that you know. Your competence is high, but you also know you have what they need. That's a mirror neuron effect. And then once that happens, you have a 200% increase, if we want to put it to this research, 200% increased likelihood that they'll pay stay, refer, if they feel understood. How do you make them feel understood? You listen, you ask the right question at the right time with the right tone. You literally listen. Frank Kern is a marketer. He said, demonstrate you care by actually caring, right? Demonstrate you listen by actually listening, right? It's sometimes in today's age, it's not easy, especially for those younger generation that are brought up on digital, asking questions with the right tone at the right time, listening, and then utilizing story. For me, I'm known as a story guy not because I love story, because I'm a great storyteller. It's just I've learned through trial and error that when you tell the right story at the right time, people respond. Why? It's how it works on the brain. It literally lights up the brain like a Christmas tree. So I hope this helped you. If you are in the business of needing to know how to sell, or you desire to want to know how to sell easier, less efficient. My clients will say, they're spending 20% of the energy they once were. 20%, that means that literally it's costing 1/5 of the energy that they're expending and actually selling more, actually getting people to say yes, and they feel good about it. Never pushy, never confrontative. And so if you want to learn how to do that the easy way, we've got a way. And it's not because I'm great, it's because I've failed enough. And then because of my neuroscience background, really understanding we can install this system called the Brain Trigger Method into your business so that sales become easier. And when you know how to do this, people buy what you have. So if you're on a mission to take your business to the next level and you have something worthy of taking to the world, if you're a pharmaceutical agent, pharmaceutical salesperson, that's not my cup of tea. If you're making the world worse, that's not my cup of tea. I want to help people who are mission driven, purpose driven, and are making the world a better place, especially if you're in healthcare, and get people off drugs, away from surgery. I want to help you. So click the link. There should be a link below. You'll be able to watch another video or see exactly how we work with our clients, or book a call with us. We'd love to help, or see if we can help, where you're at, where you're headed, and if we can get you there. In the meantime, seek to get those prospects to feel understood more than preaching to them so that they understand, and you'll sell a lot more. So there it is. God bless you. The best is yet to come.